Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, November 29th, 2020, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the show today. I hope everyone is doing well and have had a good week. This will be my weekly methane and Arctic sea ice update that I will be putting on YouTube. And before we get started on that, though, I'd like to follow up on my most recent video that I put up. And I'd like to thank everyone for the good discussion that we've had. And here's the video I'm referring to that got quite a bit of action. Are we already above 3C and nearing 4C temperature rise? And this was as a result of Sam Carana's latest blog post called "There's No Time to Lose," and in his blog post he has since replaced the chart that I was referring to in that video. It was a chart that he had done. It was apparently an old chart, and so as a result of my posting this video and bringing it to everyone's attention, I guess he realized that he had the wrong chart in there. This is so here's the new chart that he's revised, and then the old chart is if you click on earlier analysis, he says, as above image illustrates, a temperature rise of as much as 10 degrees C could eventuate as soon as 2026 when taking into account aerosol changes, albedo changes, water vapor, nitrous oxide, etc., as an earlier analysis shows. So if you click on that, then it goes to this post that's not dated, and says a temperature rise of 18 degrees Celsius, and we can see that the data is kind of old there, 2012 to 2018, and then here's so here's the old chart. It says from the 2017 post. So that's the old chart that he had used. And then here's the new chart that he's revised as a result of, I guess, my bringing it to everyone's attention that it didn't look like the chart was right, or were we really at 3C, because according to this chart from 2017, when he says from a 2017 post, then if you click there, you know, it's kind of like following a treasure map. This was posted August the 16th, 2017. And so this was a projection of possible temperature rise and going up through the years up to 2026. And when you click on 2020, where we are now, it shows that we're already past 3C and almost to 4C. So there's that. So the new chart has been corrected, and he actually put it in. I don't know when this post is from, a temperature rise of 18 degrees Celsius, because there's no date up here. So I don't know on that. And over on my YouTube channel here, it's kind of hard to get hold of Sam Carana if you're not a member of Facebook. And I got off of Facebook over a year ago. It was too much confusion over there. I decided to just go on my own. And so I pinned this post at the top about finding the old chart as well, and I didn't know when it was from and this and that. You can read all these comments. And then Sam Carana left two posts last night, and then first thing when I got up this morning, he had responded, and I really appreciate him responding. And he says, the image discussed in the video needed an update and has meanwhile been replaced by the following. And if you click on this link, it takes you to the new temperature chart, temperature rise. And this is the new one that I will go over with you today. So Sam Carana has responded. I did not report incorrectly. I reported what he had put up, and apparently it was an old chart. And then he leaves another comment and says, in the 18 degrees C rise image at the end of the post, the dark green 2.5 degree C rise due to aerosol changes has been split up into a lighter green 1.9 C rise due to falling away of sulfate cooling, and a brown 0.6 degree rise due to black carbon and brown carbon aerosols. So we got that put up, and then I said, thank you so much, Sam Carana, for this clarification. Also, thank you for your dedicated research. I know your blog, I follow your blog and share your new posts often. So according to your updated chart, we are just above 2C as we finish up 2020. It's still disturbing, but we're not quite as much as the other one. Thank you again. Please take care and be safe, Margo. And then Lou Pell leaves a comment. So we're basically around 2C at the moment. It won't be at 3C before February 22nd. And I respond and say, yes, Lou, we're around 2C right now, probably a little above since we're near the end of 2020. The chart shows being a little above 3C in February 2022, so we could hit 3C towards the end of 2021 or sooner, depending on what happens in 2021. We could also see 3C coming around later than February 2022, again, depending on what happens in the upcoming year. Remember, this is a projection. We have to take this one day at a time. I'll discuss the new updated chart in my show later on today. Stay tuned. So, and then there are lots of other comments, and the good part about this, it caused people to think and to look at, could we be at 3C? And there were some really good comments left, and what to look for when we reach 3C, because it's coming fast, and it doesn't really matter. It does matter, but I was kind of having a heart attack thinking, oh my God, we're already at 3C. What does that mean? But it's already bad enough if we're already above 2C, and they say, so let's go over here. So here's the old chart, and that was done in 2017 that accidentally got put in the post, in his latest post on November 25th. And so I was having a nervous breakdown over this, and then here's the new chart. And so let's just go over this in detail so we're all on the same page. 10 degrees C, and this is still an exorbitant amount, or 18 degrees Fahrenheit temperature rise by 2026, and warming elements for February 2020 to 2026 versus 1750. And so let's break this down. The colors look different here. So this pink, so we're going to start here, February 2020. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit. We're at 2C here, and that was from the aerosol masking effect from, things heating up, from sulfates falling out of the sky, from the lockdowns and the less manufacturing and everything. So we're all on the same page about that. So this is not changing. That's the baseline, and the pink is the rise from 1900 to 2020. And the blue, this light blue, is the rise before 1900. So this light blue, this one right here, was from 1750 to 1900. Then the pink is from 1900 to February 2020. So we're going to start with that as the base. Alright? And then that stays the same all the way across. That's the base that we're going to start with. And then as we go along, let's go back out so we can see. So here at the degrees in Celsius, it goes from 0 all the way up to 10 here on the left. And here are all the stacked up different feedbacks and different elements that contribute to the warming, because too many people just count CO2 or methane, and they don't account for snow and ice decline, more seafloor methane, water vapor feedback, and further feedbacks. So here, so we're done with 2020. We're at the end. We've got one more month here, and so this is, he does it by goes from February to February here with these stacks. And remember, these are projections from after February 2020. This is where we were to start with. So according to the data, he's projected that by February 2021, sometime around in there, that it's going to be a little above 2C. It looks like about 2.3C. I mean, if you want to get really splitting hairs here. So it's been going up this year, so here we are at the end of 2020, so we're right under that. We're probably at 2C or a tiny bit above. And then February, there's February 2021, so this is 2021, and then by 2022 he's showing a projection of, February 2022 is showing a projection of above 3C here, and see all these other feedbacks are stacking up. So he has just a couple of feedbacks starting out in 2021 with the green for the aerosols and snow and ice decline, seafloor methane, water vapor feedback, and so on. And then so there's a little bit by February 2021, but see how they're really starting to stack up in that year. So in 2021, they're really going to start snowballing, but and then they get exponentially bigger from year to year, and we're just not going to be here. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't see how we're going to be here. Unless there's some kind of miracle of some kind, technological or something, they're going to have to do something fast, and I don't see anyone agreeing on anything to get anything done. And it could be worse. It could go up to 18C higher. He shows that on the other chart on his page there. But he said on the page that these other elements didn't kick in as fast as he has estimated back in 2017. So he had overestimated that. So this, it might not be this bad, but we're in big trouble either way. And it doesn't matter if it's half a degree here, if we're off a half degree here and there, and if it's a year later or 6 months later, it doesn't matter. What matters is we're at the end. We're at the end, and we really don't need to be splitting hairs about everything. We really need to be thinking about how we're going to exit the planet, and how we're going to be living our lives in these last few days and weeks and hours and months, because I don't think we have years. We already are seeing the problems with the sea ice, and we haven't had an ice-free Arctic yet. We're already having so many problems, and it just goes to show that it doesn't have to be completely ice-free in order for everything to fall apart, and that's what I've been saying. But we need to get our spiritual houses in order, because when you talk about death and dying, it's a spiritual process, and it's a process that you have to prepare for. And if you don't prepare for it, and you're caught off guard right at the end, it's awful. It's awful. And the best way to prepare for it is to help somebody go through the process. And I took care of my friend, my best friend, who we've been best friends for 15 years, and I took care of him for the last month or so of his life, and I provided 24-hour care for him. And he died here in my bed in my apartment, and it was a little over a year ago. And that's the best way to prepare for what's coming, is to help someone go through it. And it's just, you're not the same. Once you help someone prepare for their death, once you help them and go through it with them in a hospice situation, and even not a hospice situation, it doesn't have to be exactly hospice, but they've got an illness and they're not going to recover from it, and you take care, you're their caregiver, you go with them day by day, you hold their hand, you help them face their fears, you listen to them, you pray with them, everything. Then you're not the same. You're not the same. And the charts don't matter. The showing the methane every week and every day doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What matters is, where are you spiritually, and how are you ready? Are you ready to die? Are you ready right now? And if you're not, I recommend you get ready. I really recommend that you figure out a way to start getting ready. So, So there's that. I just wanted to address that right at the very beginning. And, I really want to thank Sam Carana for coming on and addressing this himself and updating and putting the new chart up so that we know where we're at, because it's better to know the truth. It's better to know really where we are, where's our baseline, and then we can plan appropriately. Okay, but because it is what it is, and a lot of places are already seeing much higher than a 2C rise, like in the Arctic. They're still above 5C higher than normal, and the climate chaos is already happening. And Australia is still in their spring, heading into summer, and they've already got fires burning. It's going to be awful. This is not going to be an easy thing for us to go through, and we're going to have a lot of love and compassion as we go through this. So I just want people to keep all that in mind. So with that, let's get started. And I'd like to thank all of the comments and the thoughtful comments and the discussion that we had as a result of my last video. And we do need to be prepared, and it's good to think about these things. So we're going to start with the NOAA methane data for yesterday, the 28th. This is for the 477/469 millibar reading. Here we have the METOP-1 satellite for the morning. The mean or average was 1904 parts per billion, and the high reading was 2359. And the range, the high range, this pink area is the highest, and that's between 2000 and whatever this top number is here on the range. 2359 here, and so the pink can be anywhere between that, and then as it goes down in the colors, you see it here. Here's the METOP-1 satellite in the afternoon. The mean was 1906. The high reading was 2460. On the METOP-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1888. The high reading was 2438. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1886, and the high reading was 2399. So here is the spreadsheet and chart that we're working off of. I've been tracking this since March of 2019 and reporting and showing this to you. So here we are for the 28th. Here are all the means added up and divided by 4. We come up with an average of 1,896 parts per billion for the 28th. And so we're showing an overall decrease for the week of 1.5 parts per billion. And so here's the line going down. And it should be going down. This is the time of year that it should be going down. Now we had 2 peaks here, and I outlined them here. We reached 1904.25 on September the 25th, and also on October the 23rd. We had twin peaks there, and then it's been trying to go down, but hovering around that 1900 mark since then. But now it looks like we're under 1900, and typically it should be going down until sometime next year. Last year, what we had was, here was the peak in October, I think it was October the 12th, and then it went steadily down with just a couple of stair steps up or across, and then the lowest point was in December. Let's go up here. Here was the, where were we? Here was the highest point in 2019, 1885.75, and the lowest on December 28th was 1861.75. So we're a long way from that. We're around 1900, so we're just a long way from that. So we are in runaway global heating and irreversible climate change, abrupt climate change, and the methane is going out of control. So down here we have a change since February 29th of this year till the 28th of November. We've gone up 19.5 parts per billion. Since March the 1st of 2019, we've gone up 38.75 parts per billion. Now let's take a peek at what methane did this week. Now, I do daily updates for my members on Subscribestar, and I report on methane every day over there and other things as well. And also give a spiritual message, and I'm kind of rethinking how I'm going to go with this. I'd like to do more spiritual messages and not be so focused on the everyday reporting, but I don't know how that's going to shape up. But anyway, so here we are on the 21st. That was last week's report, and it was 1897.5. It had gone down that week 3 parts per billion. So and then on Sunday the 22nd, it went down another 1.75. Then on Monday there was no change, it stayed the same. Then on Tuesday it started going up, it went up 0.5. Wednesday was no change. Thursday it went up 0.75. Friday it went up 0.75. And then, so at that point, we had seen an overall increase from Saturday of 0.25. And then, for our show today, the data for Saturday, the 28th, we had a pretty good size decrease of 1.75, making the overall change for the week of a decrease of 1.5 parts per billion. So that's where we're at today on that. And I don't know of anyone else doing any kind of daily reporting on methane and sea ice. I just feel this is my calling, and this is a gift that I have to be able to go to these websites and show them to you and bring them to you, but it's a spiritual calling too, and I'm a watch person on the wall showing you where we're at, and time is short, and the people, the old prophets from the Old Testament, they were watchmen, they were telling people when what God was telling them when there was danger and all. They didn't want to hear. They didn't want to hear. Most of them were very poorly treated, and they were persecuted and stoned and cut in half and, imprisoned, crucified, heads cut off, but you don't hear about that, and it's not an easy job. This is not an easy job. So here we're going to look at the CAMS data. This is from Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services. Here's their website. They're out of the EU. Now they have a notice up here that the site's gonna be down on December the 3rd for a few hours, undergoing maintenance. So they're giving us a heads up, at least. So they're going to be undergoing maintenance for about 4 hours on December the 3rd. So at least they're giving us a heads up. In the past, it would just be down and we wouldn't know. So I don't know what all they're going to be changing, what kind of maintenance they're going to be doing, but we'll see. So here we've got methane. We've got Saturday the 28th ready, the Arctic view, and surface level ready. Here's our color chart down here. So here's where we left off with Friday, and we've got very high releases here at Severnaya Zemlya, and then we're still seeing a lot of greens. Greens are just covering up most of the Arctic and a lot of the northern hemisphere, and the green is, this is surface level. The green is, let's go down here, 1920 parts per billion. That's this dark green, and then it goes higher as it changes colors, and then this dark reddish brown, which I call black sometimes when it's so concentrated. It's a range between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. So let's just run this. And I also have a suggestion. This is only a suggestion to Sam Carana, that when you do any updates or revisions to a blog post that you've already posted, if you would just put a little note up there saying last updated such and such date, or last revised, we would know, that we're looking at new data, because sorry. Because he has a tendency to keep adding to the posts, and I will have presented the post and recorded it and put it up and this and that, and then I go back a few days later and there's all this new material, and I don't know, it's just kind of, it'd be nice to see what the revision, if there's the last date of the revision. That's just a suggestion. So and I appreciate the labeling of the images, and if you could, it would be helpful, it would just be helpful, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, to know when the image was created, when the chart was created, and I like the new labelings so far, and that will help clarify for a lot of us. because otherwise we don't know. And if we're looking at something that was created 4 or 5 years ago with old data, it's a different projection, then we're not getting an accurate picture, and obviously, and so anyway, we just do the best we can. So we got Norway and the Scandinavian area coming back to life. Got some high readings over here in Russia, and you can see these waves move out across the Arctic. Now this is coming up through the sea ice, and the ice is still at a low point, lowest for this time of year, and so I think they might have to change the way they're looking at the sea ice for a minimum extent, and because we reached we reached new records of low extent for it should be for this time of year, not just for September 15th is the minimum extent or whatever. So anyway, those are just some observations. We've got high readings on the north coast of Alaska. This is near Koktovik. So now we'll look at the North Pole view. So India's still pretty filled up, and we're still seeing high readings coming up out of this Bengal Bay, and it's spilling over the coastline. Also the Arabian Sea. Look at China. And these high readings just spilling down and across the coastlines. China's filled back up again. Here's the Persian Gulf. Here's Europe. It's filling back up, and it looks awful. See that? That's what I call black there. And see the UK and Ireland. That whole area is. Y'all are suffering with methane. It's coming back in Spain and Portugal. That whole European area. And then in North America, we've got see, we have times when it kind of green kind of covers it up, even all the way to the west coast, which is a little bit unusual. Normally we see blues, a lot of blue readings in the west, but recently we'll see days where we have waves come down where it's green, so it's higher readings overall. And this whole eastern seaboard is high, and Texas has a bunch of methane. California is not looking good, and so on. Okay, now we'll look at the global view. Now overall we're seeing this dark blue in the southern hemisphere is the background color, and it's also going down to the next color, which is purplish from this dark blue. That's 1800 parts per billion, and then this purplish kind of shimmering here, that's 1780 to 1800. So that's a sign that the overall methane readings are going down. Now you see the light blues around the coastline of the Antarctic. That's methane coming up around the coastlines. The sea ice has already melted away in a lot of these areas. Also, with this darker blue background, it's hard to see the outline of the continents, because that's in black, and it's hard to see Australia. We can see the outline when it pops up with the higher methane readings, and same with New Zealand, and here in southern Africa and South America. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. Now this is about equivalent to the level in the atmosphere we're looking at the NOAA data on too. And if we refresh this, we'll get the right color ledger. Remember, when you change levels, like from surface level to total column or 500 HPA, if you don't refresh, it defaults to the old color ledger. So here's the color ledger. They still haven't fixed that overlap there, but that's 1950 to 2360 parts per billion in the high range. So here we're seeing a lot of reds over the Arctic region. And look at this blue area. It moves around. It was over India a day or two ago, so it moves around. So this is an indication of the methane levels going down. When you start seeing the blues pop in and less reds, and see there's less green right down here at the bottom over the southern hemisphere. Now we'll look at total column, and I'll refresh so we can get the correct color ledger. So here the color ledger is a little different. This highest reading is a range between 1920 and 2320 parts per billion. So total column is where they add up all the methane readings through all the layers. We can see it's highest over here in China, and then the next highest is here over India, and this Bengal Bay where we saw it spilling over. We've got a high reading down here in Africa too. So there's that. Now let's move on to sea ice. I'm going to close. Well, before we move on to sea ice, I've got a couple more pictures to show you here. Here is the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. We can see it's getting smaller, it's shrinking, and we can see a lot of this eastern part is now out of this danger zone area, and the dark navy blue is gone, so it's getting thicker too. That was the thinnest. And well, it did get down into the white range, which was below what their charts were. It did that for a few days, but the black is gone, the navy blue is gone, and so it's thickening up. But the sun's up. The sun's up down there, and things are heating up. Here's the Arctic view of the ozone. We have a couple of really thin spots, 3 really thin spots up here over Russia. We can see the green and the blue-green. These are really thin, and over the Scandinavian area too. Here's the global view for ozone, and we're seeing more reds come in, which are higher ozone readings, which we need to balance out all the thin ozone. But it's still not good, and ozone, as we lose the ozone, and we're losing that, it'll kick in more feedbacks, because it acts as a filter for a lot of stuff. And then here's sulfur dioxide for today. Got the highest right over here, China. That's from pollution there. Here it is at 500 HPA. Where it shoots up into the atmosphere like that. This is from volcanoes or earthquakes usually. So this is from Hawaii, and this is from so this volcanic and earthquakes here, and this is from Colombia, South America. There's a volcano there, Reventador, that's going off. It looks like we had volcano go off in Indonesia. Normally we don't see the effects of it until the next day on CAMS. It's usually after the fact. For volcanoes, if it's earthquake related, we'll see the release on CAMS first, and if it's a certain signature, if it's real definite, like an exclamation point, defined lines, a lot of times that's connected to an upcoming earthquake. And sulfur dioxide was released as the rocks were moving, and then the earthquake happens usually about 24 to 48 hours later. And we can see a correlation on that sometimes. Now let's move on to sea ice. So here is Climate Reanalyzer for today for sea ice and snow cover. Here's the Arctic view, and we can see all this white. That's the snow over on the land areas, and right over Russia, and then a lot of the sea ice has snow covering it too. So let's go through and see what it's done this week. Oh, sorry, here it is from today. I had last Sunday up. So here it is from today, the 29th. So here we are from last Sunday, when we looked at it last. So we'll just see how it's changed just by eyeballing it. Here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we can see that it's trying to come back around Franz Josef Land here, and it comes back, then it goes away. It's really struggling. It's having a hard time. We can look at that again, but the edges, they come back and then they come out a little way and then they go back, just depending on the rain, the snow, the waves, all the climate. It's hard to know what it's going to do. So here's the Navy sea ice thickness for today for the Arctic. And I'm not going to be reporting on the Antarctic at all today because I spent time going over the Sam Carana thing, so we're just going to report on methane and sea ice, Arctic sea ice. So here we are today, and here along this Siberia coastline, it looks kind of thin. It had been thicker, but sometimes it gets thinner depending on the wave action, what's going on there. We're seeing aqua ribbon come back along the coastline here. That means it's thickening up a little bit. Aqua is about 2 meters thick. We're seeing the aqua ribbon still here on the Greenland coastline. We're seeing the aqua spreading out. It's thickening up. Now, what was left of the thickest sea ice was right around here, but it's being squished down and stretched out. But this area is thickening up a tiny bit, at least. Here's the 30-day animation. It goes back 3 weeks with the data and forecasts out a week from now to December the 6th. So the data starts on November the 8th. So let's zoom in and see. So the extent we saw growth at the beginning where it came back all the way over to Russia, and but it's still having a hard time here in this Kara Sea. And the Barents Sea is still clear. I don't know if we're going to get any refreeze over here because of the temperature of this North Atlantic coming in. And we're seeing it just gradually getting thicker. It's struggling. What can I say? And I'm hoping that the sea ice is going to anchor in on this Canadian archipelago, on these little islands. It keeps moving away from this one. It keeps being pulled away because of the ice drift. So let's move on. So here's another view of the sea ice thickness. This is also from the Navy model. This is in the Beaufort Sea. Here's what's left of the thicker sea ice. And this is the thickest part, just this little ridge right here on the coastline. And the darkest goes up to 5 meters thick. That darkest red, and then where you see yellows and greens, like this the green is about 3 meters thick. So we're seeing greens come in where it was all aqua, and but what I'm concerned about is this being pulled away from the coastline. And here on the Canadian and Alaska coastline, remember we had aqua down here, but that was pulled away and churned out by the gyre. So here, let's look at the 30-day animation. So we'll stop it at the end and talk about it. Okay, so here it is at the end of the forecast period on the 6th. So I want to show you what it's done this week. It's kind of gone through some changes that I've been watching. So here it was last Sunday on the 22nd. Now, there were some cracks forming. Now watch here, there's a crack that forms as it's being pulled away, and see this aqua is being pulled away and disintegrated along the coastline. Look at this crack that forms. So this ice is still very fragile, and it's not as anchored in as I had hoped it would be. So it's starting to crack there on the 26th. Look, it's bigger on the 27th. Here's the 28th. Now it's coming back together. 29th. Here's the 30th. Here's the 1st. 2nd. Now it's being pulled away again. 3rd. See? Here's another crack forming. And it's because of the ice drift. Here's the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. And on the 6th, let me show you. Let's go. See, this is very delicate. It's really in a fragile state. And I didn't realize it before I really started watching this on a daily basis. And I'm getting a new appreciation for our sea ice. And it really goes through a lot. So that's what we've got there. And not a lot of thickening. It's just slowly, very, 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 very slowly. Now this is the ice drift. I started watching this. This is centimeters per second. And we can see the arrows show how the ice is going to be moving. Now this is ice that's not anchored to something, so free ice. And since this ice is not anchored in real well onto the land, it's prone to be affected by the drift and the speed, and when you get into the higher colors it goes faster. And so this is what happens in this Beaufort gyre. So here we are at the end of the forecast period, but it's gonna go through some changes this week. So here we are today. It's pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet tomorrow. But see, it starts picking up down here by Alaska by the 1st. Look at this. It starts really speeding up on the 2nd and the 3rd. And see, this is what makes this ice pull away. It just pulls it right away from the coastline. And if the ice is not frozen back together too, it can just split. You know, those pieces can just come out. Here's the 4th, here's the 5th, and the 6th. So I just find this intriguing, and once you see that, you get a new appreciation for watching the movement of the ice. You can understand it a little bit better. So there's that. Now let's move over to our this is National Snow and Ice Data Center Sea Ice Index. This is for yesterday. I have chosen the blue marble view and the Arctic and sea ice concentration. We can also see the extent here, but the concentration shows us how the more blue it is, the less concentrated it is. Like it's thinner and there's more space between the ice, and it's just not as solid, not as put together. It's more fragile. And then down here is our daily sea ice extent time series, and here we are. This blue line is this year. The dotted line is 2012, and remember 2012 was the big year where we were at the lowest extent in September, and then that was the year that we were measured against. And then this year, in September, we were not as low as 2012, not quite. But starting in October, we went below the 2012 when it had started the refreeze. And remember, the 2012 ice was a totally different animal, and it was a lot thicker. There was a lot more ice to work with, and the climate was not as warm as it is now. So they had a refreeze, but since then we have been below 2012, and we're still below 2012. So for this time of year, we are at the lowest on record that we've been recording since humans have been recording this and living here. So it's not looking good. What can I say? Here's NASA Worldview. This is sea ice concentration, so this relates to what we saw in National Snow and Ice Data Center. And the red is, when it goes down through the colors, it's less concentrated. We've got this area up here in the Chukchi Sea that's been having problems because there have been storms up there. So let's go back through. Let's go back to the 22nd. See what it's done this week. So we'll just click through. So I can't see that we've gained much as far as extent. Just certain areas, it's just struggling. Where it's coming back a little bit here in the Chukchi Sea. But if we look at Climate Reanalyzer, here's 2-meter temperature anomaly for today, and it's still red and brown over the Arctic. This is the air temperature where it's so much warmer than normal. The Arctic is still up 5.2 C higher than normal. Worldwide we're at 0.6 C. Northern Hemisphere is up 1.2 C. The Antarctic is up 1.1 C higher than normal. So with the air temperature that much warmer, and sorry, losing my voice. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This was updated to Friday. We're still seeing browns and reds up here in the Barents Sea and the Kara Sea, and also here in the Chukchi Sea, brown. Look, and around Iceland and Greenland. And when you have sea ice temperature like that, it's just not going to refreeze. It's just not. So, here's the flat view. And Australia's in a world of hurt. Look at the brown all around Australia. And this Tasman Sea, once that heats up, that just heats up the air so much, and the fires it just feeds those fires. And Robin sent me an email about the flooding in New Zealand. They're being dumped on, and then they've got fires over here in Australia. So, it's awful. And this is what's meant by abrupt climate change. With the chaotic weather, and just things don't make sense. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish up. Now I'm working on, I've got this project going where I'm reading the whole book of Psalms, and just a chapter at a time, and recording it, and then I take 5 of those and put them in a video on my website, and going through the Bible, certain books of the Bible and things, and I think we need to bring our focus back to the spiritual, like I said at the beginning of the show. So, here we go. Psalms chapter 115. Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory, for thy mercy and for thy truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their God? But our God is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is every one that trusteth in them. O Israel, trust thou in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. Ye that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. The Lord hath been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless them that fear the Lord, both small and great. The Lord shall increase you more and more, you and your children. Ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth. The heaven, even the heavens, are the Lord's, but the earth he given to the children of men. The dead praise not the Lord, neither any that go down into silence. But we will bless the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. Praise the Lord. Psalms chapter 115. So, I can't say it any more than I've already said it. Time is short. Every day that you're here is one less day that you're going to be here, but it's even shorter. No one knows the day or the hour, and we need to get right with God and Jesus. We need to repent, get on our knees, and have God as our compass and Jesus as our brother, our Savior. Things are getting dark and much darker, and spiritually things are playing out down here, and anyone who denies it, they don't have the eyes to see. But not everybody does. Not everybody does. So, I love you all, and I'm praying for you. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.